Earlier in the year, we had talked about variation. We did only direct and inverse variation. So if you remember that direct variation takes the form of y equals kx. So if you read y varies directly with x, it's y equals kx. And z varies directly with x would be z equals kx. So this k is this constant of variation. It's just a number, a coefficient. So direct variation is if the x value increases, the y value increases. If the x value decreases, the y value decreases. They're said to be directly, there's a direct relationship to them, or they're proportional. Another word is for directly proportional. Jointly is more than one direct variation. So if something is jointly, if there's joint variation, z varies jointly with x and y, it's going to be z equals kxy. Inverse variation is if one variable goes up, the other variable goes down. So two ways that you can describe it, if x and y are inversely related, it means that x times y equals k, or you could also do y equals k divided by x. If z varies inversely with x, this means that z equals k divided by x. So whatever variable is before the varies, once you write varies, that means you're going to put an equal sign. Inversely means that the variable following inversely needs to go on the bottom. Compound is more than one variation happening. So if I read this, v or y varies directly with x and inversely with the square root of x. Square root of x. So to write this variation, y equals, because I have varies directly with x, so kx is going to go on the top, and inversely with the square root of x. So square root of x. That's how I would write that. So if it's directly, it's going to go on the top, and if it's inversely, it's going to go on the bottom of your numerator. Okay, another example of compound. Z, so z equals, because varies, inversely with y, so y needs to go on the bottom, and directly with x, so kx goes on the top. So let's do a couple of examples down here. Y varies directly with x and inversely with z. When y is 10, x is 2, and z is 3. Find y when x is negative 5 and y is 2. Okay, we have a lot of information going on. So what I do is I first write a general statement for this part right here. So y varies directly with x, so it's kx on the top, and inversely with z. So that's step 1. Step 2 is I'm going to substitute this information in to solve for k. So when y is 10, x is 2, so it's going to be k times 2, and z is 3. So I'm doing this because I want to solve for k. I want to solve for my constant of variation. So multiplying both sides by 3 would give me 30 equals 2k, so k is 15. So if I had to write a direct variation equation, it would be y equals 15 x over z. So that's my equation. Last step, find y when x is negative 5 and y is 2. And z is 2, this should be z. Z is 2. So I'm going to plug in y equals 15 times negative 5 over 2. So 15 times negative 5 is negative 75. So this is negative 75 over 2 as my answer. Okay, next one. The dollar amount D that Megan earns varies directly with the number of hours H that she works. So dollars equals D varies directly with H, so KH. In her last paycheck, she earned $148.50 working 18 hours. So what I need to do is, this is the dollar amount, so I'm going to substitute this in and solve for K. So what is our constant of variation? So K equals 825. So that means that she makes $8.25 an hour. So my equation would be D equals KH, so it's 825H. So in her next paycheck is $90.75. How many hours did she work? So if I had $90.75 equals 825H, solve for H. So I do 90.75 divided by 8.25. And I get H equals 11 hours. So she worked 11 hours. Okay, next example. If Y varies jointly with X and Z, so remember, joint variation is just two direct variations or more happening at the same time. So Y varies jointly with X and Z. Now I'm going to use the second part of the equation. Y is 48, X is 8, Z is 15, and solve for K. So 48 equals K times 8 times 15, and solve for K. So dividing both sides by 8 times 15 will give you that K is 0.4. So the equation for the variation is going to be Y equals 0.4 times XZ. So the last part that you're going to do is find Y when X is 14 and Z is 20. So plug in Y equals 0.4 times 14 times 20. So 0.4 times 14 times 20 is 112. Okay, here's some more examples. P varies jointly with Q and the cube of R. So if it's the cube of R, it's KQR cubed. So then when P is 270, Q is 6, and R is 3, so I'm going to substitute 270 equals K times Q, which is 6, times R cubed. R cubed is going to be 27, and solve for K. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6 times 27. So 270 divided by 6 times 27 is 1 2/3. So 1 2/3 is 5/3. So find P when Q is 3 and R is 5 is going to be P equals 5/3, because that's my K, times Q times R cubed, which is going to be 125. So 5/3 times 3 is going to cancel out the 3. So 5 times 125 is 625. So the answer is 625. Okay, number 5. If M is inversely proportional to the square root of N. So M is inversely proportional. So that means that the square root of N is going to go on the bottom. So the square root of N, and K is still on the top. When M is 27, N is 16. So when M is 27, N is 16. So the square root of 16 is 4. So to solve for K, I'm going to do 27 times 4, which is 108. So K is 108. Now I have to find M when N is 64. So M equals K, which is 108, over the square root of N, which is the square root of 64. So I'm calculating 108 divided by the square root of 64, which is 13.5. Okay, A varies directly as B and is inversely as C. So A varies directly as B, so KB, and inversely as C. C is on the bottom. If A is 16 and B is 12 and C is 6, solve for K. So I'm going to do 16 times 6 and divide that by 12. So K is 8. Find B, or find A when B is 24 and C is 4. So A equals K, which is 8, times B, which is 28, divided by C, which is 4. So I'm going to calculate 8 times 28 and then divide that by 4. And I get A is 56. Okay, 7. If the time it takes Adam to drive to Disney World varies inversely with his average rate of speed. So the time varies inversely with speed. If Adam takes 10.8 hours, so that's their time, and then are given the speed is 50, so I'm solving for K. So K is 10.8 times 50, so it's 540. How long would it take him to have an average speed of 60 miles an hour? So now I'm going to plug in time equals K, which is 540, divided by the speed, which is now 60 miles an hour. So that's going to be 9 hours because to cancel out the zeros, 54 divided by 6 is 9. So 9 hours. A varies directly. This one's just like the other one. Okay, so I'm going to do 9. Determine whether the table represents direct or inverse variation. So if it's direct variation, it means that you are multiplying x by the same number to get y. So to check for direct variation, I'm going to do y divided by x because that's going to give me my k. So if you remember, quick k is y equals, or direct variation is y equals kx, so that means that k has to be y divided by x. So all of these, if I do y divided by x, y divided by x, y divided by x, if I do 1.1 divided by 1, and 2.2 divided by 2, and 3.3 divided by 3, I get 1.1. So k equals 1.1. So my equation, if it's direct variation, is 1.1x. Okay, the second one, I'm going to divide all of these. So negative 10 divided by negative 2. These are not all going to be the same. So I check to see if it's inverse. Inverse, remember, is k equals x times y. So if you multiply the x times y, do you get the same thing? Well, if I multiply these two, I get 20. If I multiply these two, the 3's cancel out and I get 20. This one will be 20, this one will be 20. So my equation is 20 equals xy. And my last, let's try to divide it. So if I divide this, I get 2, this I get 2, this I get 2, this I get 2. So it's direct. K is 2, so y equals kx, and the k is 2.